The State of Our Union. Okay, well, this segment is from a much longer panel discussion hosted at the University of Pennsylvania, which was titled The MLK Lecture in Social Justice. Links to the full presentation and to this excerpt are both in the description. And I am glad they thought to make this portion its own little video, as it was one of the segments that really caught my brain. But before we get there, for reference, our two speakers in this piece are Amber Hikes, Executive Director in the Office of LGBT Affairs at the City of Philadelphia, and Yvonne Espinoza, Executive Director at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights in Boston. Sounds like two serious people with two serious job titles. So, what wisdom do they have to share, in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King, and regarding the state of our union?
In addition to that, I think we need to have a deeper conversation about really like the duality of humankind, right?
Right.
So we have this narrative, right?
Right.
This kind of savior narrative like you were talking about the founding fathers, right?
Right.
And there's no space for the fact that you can be both a great thinker and a horrible, problematic racist. and why,
right.
And why can't we have that conversation?
Who exactly is stopping you from having that conversation? I mean, you're having it right now, aren't you? And exactly what would the conversation be about? That the racist beliefs of the Founding Fathers, what? Invalidate all of their other ideas, other actions, or their significance in our history? Because I would love to hear those arguments.
You were an exceptional thinker and also an absolute racist.
Well, it is an unfortunate fact that being a great thinker and holding what are regressive or arguably contradictory beliefs are not mutually exclusive concepts. Just like Francis Collins can be the head of the Human Genome Project, one of the most astounding scientific endeavors of our time to map the chemical building blocks of human evolution, while also being a devout, born-again Christian who believes in God's creation. So again, I have to wonder, can a great thinker's ideas, taken in isolation from other of their ideas or ideals, not stand on their own merits? I mean, if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was as rampant at infidelity in his marriage as it is alleged that he was, does that make his expressed ideas and ideals morally suspect?
And if we can't have that conversation, then our youth are growing up not being able to even seeing their peers or even their teachers or their current leaders as really problematic folks, right?
Right.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure I understand that. If today's youth can't have that conversation, the conversation wherein the Founding Fathers were both great thinkers and horrible racists, then they are growing up as not being able to see their teachers and peers as problematic. Well, firstly, nothing is preventing anyone from discussing those things. I mean, you're discussing them right now. And secondly, are you saying that kids today are being prevented from seeing the people around them as what? Horrible racists?
So again, I'm always talking about interrogating the system, but we need to talk about duality of humankind.
Well, okay. I wonder what duality our first speaker here possesses. I would love to discuss that, and how any inherent inconsistencies in thought or action that she has thus mean she should be wholly discounted and dismissed. Are we allowed to have that conversation? And if so, I wonder if our speaker here would volunteer to take part. You know, for the children's sake.
It's really true. And what you just said reminded me of an incident that happened to me recently where I approached an agency to say, you know, we've been analyzing the racial impact of a policy decision that you just made. And the general counsel called one of my board members to complain about me, saying that I had the nerve to accuse him of being racist. And I was like, let's take a step back.
Well, we only have our speaker's word as to how the initial conversation went, but okay, let's say you delivered the news as plainly as you say you did. Given the context of saying that a policy had a racial impact, is it unreasonable for someone to conclude that you were alleging a detrimentally racial motivation behind the policy? Because maybe I'm missing something.
I talked about the racial impact of the decision that you made to change the service delivery model.
Hurt dogs, honey. Hurt dogs will holler.
And how that impacts people of color in certain zip codes.
Oh, so you confronted them with data to say that their decision negatively impacted people of color in certain zip codes. Go on.
That's what I'm talking about. If you feel
right,
that in me saying that makes you racist, then that is something that you need to process and handle all on your own, and something that the lawyers committee is not going to process for you.
That's right.
Right?
So, if you implicate a person or a group with having taken an action which specifically impairs or harms people of color in specific areas of a jurisdiction, they're taking that as an accusation of racially motivated policy and politics is their problem. Well, I am curious. If the accusation was not meant to be that of racism, then why bring up the racial makeup of the people at all? Why not just point out the disparities in geography rather than make it about race? Because, you know, you made it about race.
But not my job.
You know, I wasn't calling that person or even the institution racist.
Hold on now. I'm not calling you a witch. All I'm saying is that the results of what you are doing look an awful lot like witchcraft. If you take that to mean I'm calling you a witch, well, maybe there's something you'd like to share with the God-fearing mob outside.
What I said is you need to take a closer look at the disparate impact that this policy is having, specifically in the African American community.
Specifically as it relates to skin color, but it's not about racism. Got it.
And so these things coexist. Like, I'm not saying you're a racist. I'm saying that there is an impact that is disproportionate. And we need to have these conversations. And unfortunately, sometimes, right? Like, there is that tension there because people take it personally. But this isn't about taking something personal. It's about getting done.
Right. You weren't calling them racist. You were just telling them that what they were doing ended up becoming racist. And they shouldn't take that personally, even though they were personally involved in making the policy that you say is unfair to people of a certain skin color. Because while they might be great thinkers, their reaction to a completely non-existent implication is something that they need to process. Because, you know, they might actually be racist for thinking that you were calling them racist. And isn't it great that we live in a country where we can have conversations about conversations we're not allowed to have and laugh about innocent insinuations of regressive wrongdoing? which are then posted on YouTube for people like me to pick apart. Yes, in all sincerity, I truly do love the state of our union. As always, thank you for watching.